Okay, so number 6 through 9, we're going to do multi-step equations in this video, guys, for your Unit 2 study guide. So number 6, we have a lot of parentheses. So this is where you're going to use your order of operations. You're going to have to clean up, and then you're going to have to solve for the variable at hand. So we're going to distribute first. So 5 times x, one at a time. So 5x, 5 times a negative 3 is going to be a negative 15. And this parentheses is like a big brick wall. So now you've distributed that 5 as far as it needs to go because now you have that negative 2. That negative 2 is going to distribute all the way through. Not to that x, so negative 2x. Negative 2 times 1 gives you a negative 2. And again, a big brick wall and you're done. So equals 4. Now at this point, you can draw your line of great divide because you've been on one side. You want to look at each side of this equation. So in this case, you just have a constant, so you're good to go. But you have a hot mess on this side. But we did do the unit where we were combining like terms, and this is the same thing. So x's go with x's, and then our whole numbers go with whole numbers. And my suggestion is to always clean up on one side before you start moving things across the equal marks. So our 5x and our negative 2, it's a minus 2. So 5 minus 2 is going to be 3x. And then negative 15 minus 2, so I borrowed 15 and I borrowed 2 more, means I'm going to owe you 17. So equals 4. Now I have my x by itself. I'm going to move my constant away because that's my goal, is to get x by itself. So we're going to add 17 to both sides. So 3x is now equal to 21 because 17 plus 4 is 21. 3x is the same thing as 3 times x, so we have to undo that by division because that is the inverse of multiplication. And so x equals 7. And then we have completed that problem. Really important to stay nice and neat and keep things in a line, which is why that big green, or the line of great divide, as I like to call it, is really, really helpful. Because a lot of us write sort of messy, and that's where you start losing your negatives or forgetting terms or not bringing things down. So if you have different color pens, or again, like if you could just write a little bit larger and use that line and stay on one side consciously and move to the other side consciously, I think a lot of you will do a lot better at solving equations. So that would be my tip to get better at solving equations, is staying nice and neat. All right, so first of all, we have an 8 in the front. We're going to distribute it first because we have parentheses. So just like our orders of operation, so parentheses. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times a negative 2x. And notice I'm drawing an arrow and then doing my math. And that is to make sure I don't skip anything. So if I find out I did it wrong, I can go back and figure and see quite quickly if I forgot to do something. A lot of people make a habit to draw these arrows and then do the math, but that defeats the point of the arrows. Because then you just assume you did it, and that's not what always happens. So again, we're going to look at both sides. So that's a constant and a variable, so there's nothing I can clean up on that side. And then I'm going to look at this side, and I can clean up on this side because I do have 2 constants. So that 8 and that 5 can be combined to simplify. So I have negative 16x, and 8 plus 5 is going to be 13. And then I have 39 minus 3x on this side. Now I need to get my x's on one side and my constants on the other side, or my numbers without a variable on the other side. You can go either way. So here our work could change, like yours could look different than mine, but our answer should always still be the same. I like to work towards a positive x, so I'm going to move towards the larger x, and negative 3 is larger than negative 16. So I'm going to add 16x. And if you decide to move the constant first, that's fine too. Like I said, our work could change up a little bit here. So 39, and if I owe you 3, but I pay you 16, that means I have 13x. I now have only a single x, so I'm going to move that 39, and I'm subtracting it because it's positive. And 39, that's a negative 39. So I owe you $39, so negative 39, and I pay you 13. I still owe you 26. So I owe you $26. X is not by itself. I just had to bring it down. X is attached to 13 by multiplication. Inverse of multiplication is division. So to undo multiplication, we're going to divide. And 26 divided by 13 is going to be 2. Alrighty, we did it. x equals 2. Oh, is anybody going to tell me my mistake? I already found one. Look at me. So negative 26. Negative 26 divided by 13 is going to give me a negative 2 because that 13 is still positive. Told you, I lose negatives just as well as you do, just as fast. It's a matter of making sure you double check and look over your work and see how things are going. All right, so number 8, we have 2 sets of distribution this time. So we have 3, which we're going to move to our x, which is going to be 3x. 3 times 4, which is going to be 12. Then that's an equal, and then remember there's our great divide, our big brick wall right here. So this parenthesis stops it. So we're going to start working on our 2. So 2 times x gives me 2x. 2 times 9 gives me 19. And there's our brick wall, so we're done with that distribution as well. So now we're going to have a big line of great divide. We need to again decide which side we want our x's to go to and then which side we want our constant to go to. I like to work towards the largest coefficient attached to your x, and that's going to be my 3. So I'm going to subtract 2x and subtract 2x, and that's going to leave me with 1x plus 12 equals 19, and that 12 and 19 are staying there because I haven't done anything with them yet. And like I said, really, 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 really hope you will learn to be very conscious in your actions and where you're writing things, because most students that have a problem with this, they're writing things all over the place. So again, it's your organization that's your problem, not that you don't know what you're doing. So we have 1x, which remember is the same thing as x because that 1 in the front is assumed or imaginary. We're going to subtract 12 because it's a positive 12. We need to get rid of it on this side, so these have to equal 0. If I'd added 12, I would have 24, which would just be a hot mess. I'm going to bring that x down with its imaginary 1. If I have 19 and I spend 12, then I have $7 left. And we should be done. All right, the next one, I challenge you to pause the video and try it yourself if you didn't already try it. So we need to distribute. We're going to distribute that negative 5 times x, which is going to be a negative 5x. And then we're going to do a negative 5 times 7, which is a negative 35. That's our big brick wall, so we're done with our distributions. We're just going to bring down, and then we're equals. This side has no distribution, so negative 9, negative 9, 8x. Sorry, that was a typo. So change that m to an x, because we do want the same variable all the way through. These are not literal. This is just supposed to be. And I prefer x for my handwriting for worksheets. So if you ever see double, you can ask me. But usually if I typed it up, it's because I took it from a place that used m, but I tried to change it to x to make sure my handwriting looked okay for you to be able to read it, because sometimes my letters start looking like numbers and vice versa. All right, so we're going to check each side. So that negative 9 minus 8x, that's a variable and that's a constant. So those two are not like terms. So if we look at our left side, is there any way we can combine or clean things up? Yep, so we have constants again, that negative 35 and that positive 2 are like terms. So we can simplify that, or like I like to say, clean it up. So negative 5x, negative 35, I owe you $35 and I pay you 2. That means I owe you 33 still. And I still have my negative 9 minus 8x. We have to decide which side we want our variables versus which side we want our constants. I'm going towards the largest coefficient. So negative 5 is larger than negative 8. So I'm going to add 8x to both sides because that's a negative 8. And that'll give me a positive coefficient on my x. If I owe you 5 and I pay you 8, I'll have 3x minus 33 equals negative 9. Now here, remember, x is now by itself, or there's only one term that has an x on it. So we're going to move that constant negative 33 away from that x. So I'm going to add 33 to both sides, add 33 to both sides, and then if I add 33 to a negative 9, it means I have 33, I spent 9, then I should have 24 equals 3x. X is not quite by itself. My great divide is also not long enough. We're going to divide both sides by 3 because that 3x is 3 times x, and the inverse of multiplication is division. And last but not least, 24 divided by 3 is going to give us 8. And we are done with the section on multi-step equations for your study guide for Unit 2. See you next video, guys.